Good morning, everybody. Hey, gonna do a bit of a different video today. Give you an update about this here half a Pontiac project. But first, let's talk about these things here. This here, I don't even know what to call it because my Alzheimer's brain is saying that today it's a forklift. But what I got here, I found this. All three of these Maniac toys, Maniac machines, whatever you want to call them, I found. I didn't pay a penny for them. This one and this one I found in the same place. But anyways, first we'll start with this one. I'm planning on maybe painting this thing yellow again. I want to spruce it up. And where I found it was, believe it or not, in one of those waste metal recycle things. So I saved it from going to China and getting made into maybe a battleship or an aircraft carrier or something like that. And I still use it. It's pretty good. Now this thing here, I call this my Maniac pointer. And this thing is solid pipe. And what I plan to do with this, if you can see it really good, I've had this a long time, but I want to turn it into a number 2 pencil. In other words, I want to paint this all up too so it looks just like that. And I think that'd be cool. You see the eraser at the top? And this thing here, I have used this a lot. It's pretty heavy. Finally, last but not least, I found this yesterday. This thing is definitely what I'm going to call a Maniac shovel. It is heavy. It is solid steel, homemade, and I found it sitting in the middle of a turn lane on a 5-way highway. And I don't know how they could have dropped it out of the truck and not heard it go clanging down the street. But it was laying there, and I grabbed it before anybody else could. And I don't think I'll ever use it for anything because it's so heavy. And this is what this brings me to. You know, I'm into old-fashioned stuff. And this looks like something that a crazy undertaker might make. And I used to watch, you know, I like a lot of old stuff, and I used to watch this TV show back in the old days called The Life of Riley. You might remember it if you're real old, but The Life of Riley, they actually made 2 different versions of it, one starring Jackie Gleason. He didn't do that many episodes, and then he went on with The Honeymooners. But the other one was a guy named William Bendix, and he did the best running television show. You can see all that on YouTube, by the way, if you want to check it out. But before the television show, there was a radio show from the 40s, and William Bendix was the father in that show too. But in the radio show, they had an undertaker, and they called him Digger. And in pretty much, not every, but a lot of the episodes, Digger would show up at Riley's house, or Riley would run into him someplace down the street or whatever. And Digger was your typical undertaker that would have that kind of slow, mysterious, spooky voice. And it always, in the end, after he made his little jokes, because they'd make little jokes, you know, involving death and being buried, and how are you feeling today, Riley? You're looking a little pale. Stuff like that. You probably never heard that radio show before, but you've heard it in a sense if you remember, if you're a little closer to my age, you remember the Munsters. And Herman, he worked for The Undertaker, and I think his name was Mr. Grave or Gravely, which was played by, I can't remember his name now, tall, skinny guy. He had sons that became movie stars. Anyways, he was in The Grapes of Wrath, this guy too, tall, skinny guy with a deep voice. And he would do those same jokes too. But in the old TV show, The Life of Riley, whenever Digger was about to leave, he'd always say, "Shoveling along, I'll be shoveling along." Yeah. Okay. Getting back to this here thing. All right. The Pontiac, the half of a Pontiac creation. You know, if you've been following me, it would start up and it runs, but it won't idle. And I'd have to run this Maniac drip can on it. And it worked, and with idle. Whoa! My camera maker almost was ready to be shoveling along. She got a bit startled by that shovel falling down. But so I rebuilt the car, put it on, and got it running, of course. And man, that thing, even after all that work, this car, if you look, I've made shorts, and the shorts that I put up of it, it was, you know, hadn't been opened up since it was incorporated onto the car back in 1959, and it sat in a junkyard for probably 30, I'll say 30 years, just because. And it was disgusting, but same problem. It would not idle. I got one more carburetor, and I'm not giving up. I just ordered another rebuild kit, a cheaper one this time, one of those ones from the recycle world. And we're going to try again, and then if it doesn't succeed, I'll try again with the other carburetor. Sooner or later, this thing will start and idle on its own, and then I'll start working on making it a two-seater again. Having said all that, all right, don't trip now. Don't trip on that shovel. Here's my little turtle, and if you've looked at any of my shorts, you've seen that I found on August 6th, when we had that hurricane come by, Hurricane Debbie, found this little turtle. Now, you're not going to be able to see her. I'm calling it a her until I know otherwise. But this thing was about the size of my thumbnail, and it still is. But I take it out, and it's eating mealworms and stuff like that. So I think she's going to make it. But I found an interesting the other day. Me and my wife, we were watching this thing on YouTube, always on YouTube. It was about condors. And condors, the male condor has brown eyes, and the female condor has red eyes. But with turtles, it's the opposite way around. The females have the brown eyes, and the males have the red eyes. Go figure that one out. I don't get it. I don't understand, but that crazy guy Darwin could probably explain it to you, eh? You know? Anyways, that's what's happening in Maniac Land, and all I've got to say is I'll be shoveling along.